Recently, we ranked every single heist in GTA Online, so today, we're going to rank the GTA DLC updates in the game. Keep in mind that all of these rankings are my opinion, and the likelihood that you're going to have the same list as me is really, really low, and that's okay. Alright, so I've picked 12 of the biggest, or I guess the most important updates in GTA Online. We're only picking the ones after 2015, because the main, really big update for this game was the heists update in 2015, so I only want to include things that came after that, because everything before that, I mean, it just doesn't really have that much of an impact on the game right now. So we'll start off with the first one we got here. We got Los Santos Summer Special. I mean, I'm sorry. I gotta put this one in the bad tier. Now, this one's actually kind of difficult to put in this tier because this one obviously came out in August this year, and we know how tough of a year this has been. The fact that Rockstar was still able to bring 2 DLCs this year says a lot. I mean, that's really great. But if we're just talking about the DLC, we're not taking the circumstances into consideration, I mean, this DLC really didn't do anything for the game. We had, I think it was 12 new vehicles. None of them really did anything. We got 2 new Formula 1 cars, but we didn't get any good weaponized. I don't even think we got any Warstock vehicles. We got some yacht missions, which, I mean, they pay terribly, so it doesn't make you want to buy a yacht. And then we also got a treasure hunt, which, I mean, once you do that treasure hunt, you're done. You're never going to do that again. So if we're looking at this objectively, we got some missions that aren't really useful. We got a bunch of vehicles that, I mean, a lot of them are cool, but again, just not really useful. And then a treasure hunt, I mean, a treasure hunt, you can't really classify that as something that's going to change the game. So overall, yeah, it's got to go in the bottom tier. Next up, we've got the original heist. This one was the one that came out in 2015. I got to do it, man. For the OG's sake, it's got to go God tier. Now, obviously, these heists, they're not good now, obviously. But if we're talking about at the time when these came out, these completely changed the way Grand Theft Auto Online works. I'm sure at least 90% of my audience right now didn't actually play the game before heists came out. But before these heists came out, all that were in the game were Gerald missions and robbing stores. Those were literally the only ways you could make money. The OGs, of course, remember things like Rooftop Rumble and all of that. But when heists came out, that actually gave us an end game activity to grind for, to play with friends. The game was really, really, really basic before this. It also gave us a reason to actually own the high-end apartments. It gave them an extra use instead of just being basically a 10-car garage. And as for the vehicles, I mean, it brought some pretty good vehicles as well, looking back. We got the Armored Kuruma, which is still one of the best armored vehicles in the game. We got the Insurgent, I mean, arguably top 10 vehicles in the game. And even though the heists aren't useful now, I know they're really frustrating now because you need 4 people to do them. At the time, this completely changed the game, and for that reason, it's got to go in God tier. Next up, we got Bikers. Ooh, this is a tough one. I gotta put it at least in okay. I'm not sure if I want to put it in okay or good. We'll start it off in good, actually. This is actually a really tough one for me. We'll leave it in good. Yeah, we'll leave it in good. So with the biker update, of course, we got 5 businesses. That's insane for a single DLC. And even though they're all basically reskins of each other, it gave you a lot of stuff to grind for, which at the time was kind of a good thing because, again, there wasn't too much to do in the game at that time. So basically, this was the first DLC that let you make money in the background while you could do other stuff. And it really expanded the ways you could play this game. It also introduced the MC President system, the motorcycle clubs, which again, completely changed the way the game was played. You could spawn bikes right next to you. Of course, this was before the Oppressor came out, so it wasn't a problem at that point. As for the vehicles, we didn't really get too many influential vehicles. We got the Shitaro, which, I mean, it's a futuristic Tron bike, which is pretty cool. Not really overly useful, though. But purely for the 5 businesses, I mean, I have to put this as an above average DLC. Next up, we got, oh, this is an interesting one. The Doomsday Heists. Now, I can't put this any higher than okay. I'm not sure if I want to put this in okay or not great. It really depends on the type of player you are. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would put it in good. Tossing up between these two. I'm going to put it in not great for now. So this DLC was the first heists that really took heists to the next level. Like, these are probably still arguably the most epic heists in the game. Doesn't make them the best, but it makes them the most cinematic and most epic. We had 3 heists in this update, and 3 like multi-level heists. There was a lot of content here, but in my opinion, a lot of content doesn't always make it great. The problem with these heists was they took so long to do. With the Cayo Perico heist, for example, you can do that in an hour. If you want to do one of these heists, you gotta probably set aside at least 2 hours, because you gotta do like 4 or 5 preps, then 4 or 5 setups, and then the heist finale, which can actually be pretty difficult. We also got a lot of vehicles in this one. Like, we got a lot of good ones, like the Akula, for example. We got the Avenger, which I think's a pretty good vehicle. We got the Stromberg, which a lot of people really like. But the main problem with it, which is why I kind of have to put it in the not great, is because it sort of set the tone for Grand Theft Auto sort of going off the rails down this futuristic path. We got the Deluxo, we got the Thruster jetpack as well, and it just didn't feel like Grand Theft Auto. It was definitely a risk to go down the route of futuristic stuff, and it definitely appeals to a younger audience, but for the OG fans, I don't think this was the right move. So I've mentioned a few negatives there, and like I said, put it in the not great category, but there were some positives. We got the Mark II weapons, which give you something extra to grind for and something to sort of strive to achieve, which is something Grand Theft Auto sort of always struggled with. And there were definitely good parts. Like I said, there were some good vehicles. The heists were definitely epic, but yeah, I mean, it was a risk, and in my opinion, it didn't pay off. Alright, next up we got Cayo Perico Heists. A lot of people probably wanted me to put it here, because, you know, people just want to hate on everything. Personally, I'm going to actually put it in good. And there's a few reasons why, so don't just get angry at me for putting it in there. This was promised to be the biggest DLC ever, right? Technically, it kind of was. It just depends how you look at it, right? If we're talking about getting the most heists, no, it didn't give us the most heists. If we're talking about getting the most vehicles, no, it also didn't do that. But the thing is, it gave us an entire island. And I know it isn't free roam, but it is a new island, and it gave us the biggest amount of land that we've ever had in Grand Theft Auto Online. We've never had any sort of a map expansion. Even though it's not available in free roam, it is kind of a map expansion. It's a new location. So that alone sort of does make it maybe the biggest, or at least one of the biggest updates ever. We also got the best money-making heist in the game, and the first solo heist, which is great for the solo guys. You can make easily $1.5 million an hour. And in my opinion, it's also the most fun heist. You can approach it however you want. You can do it really quickly if you want to. You can go try different approaches with friends if you want to. Basically, they just drop you into an entire island and you play how you want. Every single time Rockstar has done a heist DLC, they sort of improved them every single time, and they're sort of like test runs for what GTA 6 heists are probably going to be, and for me, this really took it to a new level. Now, as for the vehicles, I agree. I know everyone's going to say the vehicles are a disappointment. I absolutely agree. We got a lot of really useless things, like the Alkonost. It's really cool, but it's useless. The patrol boat, really cool, but useless. Stealth helicopter, Annihilator Stealth, really cool, but not as good as the Akula, and that pretty much makes it useless. But we also got some really good vehicles as well, right? Like, we got the submarine, which I think is a really cool and, you know, actually kind of balanced addition to the game. We got the Sparrow, which is kind of like a better Buzzard. We got the Toreador, which in some aspects is a better Stromberg. In some aspects, the Stromberg's still a bit better. But in terms of what they could realistically still add to this game, I thought they did a pretty good job with the vehicles. So overall, not a perfect DLC. It had its downfalls, like the music locker I haven't even mentioned. Like, what is the point of that? But it does have a lot of good things in here, and in my opinion, it's a good DLC. Next up, oh man, Arena Wars. I almost forgot this was a thing. I'm gonna put it in not great. I don't really think it did anything that is relevant now. What did we even get in this DLC? I need to look back. It's just, I've completely forgotten about it. We got the arena workshops, which, I mean, are pretty useless. We got the up and atomizer. Basically, we got all of the alien weapons, which, I mean, the up and atomizer is actually a really good addition to the game. And then we got a bunch of the arena war vehicles, which for the most part are a lot of fun. They're not really good. I mean, the ZR380 is pretty good. The Death Bike's pretty good as well. But for the most part, these vehicles don't really change the meta too much. And we also got Arena Wars, which, I mean, Arena Wars is really fun, but no one plays it because there's really no point. So it's just kind of a basic update. It's not like it didn't have as little amount of content as the summer special, so I can't quite put it down in that tier. But yeah, it really didn't do much. So yeah, not great. After Hours. Oh, okay, this is an interesting one because it had good parts and it had absolutely terrible parts. Oppressor. Oh god. I'm gonna put it in. Man, this is tough. I'm gonna put it in bad, not because I don't know how am I gonna explain this. Some people are gonna say it needs to go in bad. Lots of people are gonna be angry at it. The biggest part of this was the nightclub, and look, the nightclub is actually a really good business. There were a lot of improvements over things like the bunker and the MC businesses. The main one is this is pretty much a completely solo passive business. The nightclub is sort of like better MC businesses that you can do solo, if that makes sense. So they made improvements in that aspect, right? We also got good things like the Terabyte, which was a really good way to make money. Maybe not as useful now that we got the Cayo Perico Heist, but it was, you know, pretty good. We got some fun vehicles like the Scramjet, but the main reason I got to put it in bad is because we got the Oppressor Mark II, and I know a lot of people love the Oppressor Mark II. But the point I'm trying to get at is this completely threw the meta out of whack. The Oppressor Mark II was too good. Like, it's so good that everything else is terrible, and it just means everyone's going to use that one vehicle. And because Rockstar really hasn't released too many ways to effectively counter the Oppressor Mark II, still to this day, even though this DLC is over 2 years old, it has basically ruined the meta of the game. So for that reason, yeah, I gotta put it in bad tier. I got it. Diamond Casino and Resort. Okay is looking pretty empty, so we'll put it there. I mean, it was okay. It's basically part one. There were two parts. You had the Diamond Casino, and then a few months later, you had the Diamond Casino Heist. So this is really part one of the Casino series. And I mean, we got a cool story. I actually really enjoyed the storyline. Like, it was the first decent online story we got since the Heist updates, really. So that was cool. It introduced the casino, which, I mean, is pretty much gambling for children, so that's not a great look, Rockstar, but I mean, the casino is cool. You can go spin the lucky wheel and get free vehicles, free money every single day, so that, I mean, that deserves a thumbs up. As for the vehicles we got with it, I mean, we got the Krieger, which is a good supercar. We got some cool looking supercars as well, like the Thrax and the S80RR. But overall, yeah, I mean, you had the story missions. Once you did that, it was kind of useless. You go to the casino, do your daily spin, but outside of that, yeah, kind of just a meh DLC. Cool update that brought a bit of spotlight back to the game, but nothing too amazing, so I'm pretty happy putting it in the middle. Next up, we got Gunrunning. This is kind of an interesting one as well. I kind of want to put it in okay tier, but I mean, I kind of want to put it in good tier as well, because the bunker is a really good business, and it was, well, I mean, you could argue if it was the best business at the time, the CEO businesses were pretty good. But really, this was the first improvement on the passive style businesses we got with the Biker DLC. The Biker DLC introduced the idea of passive businesses, but it didn't really do it well, right? Like, all the sell missions were really boring. Gunrunning took that concept and made all of the missions a bit more fun, a little bit easier as well. And then it also expanded on that in terms of bringing in things like the MOC, an entire bunker which you could use to research as well as create product. And we also got some pretty cool vehicles as well. The main one was the Night Shark, which is kind of, I guess, a better solo player version of the pickup, the Insurgent pickup. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should put this one in okay, because it introduced the Oppressor, which, I mean, that was kind of another thing that made GTA start to go down the futuristic path. So this one's close between good and okay. I'm going to put it in okay, personally. Diamond Casino Heist. Oof, this one, like I said, part two of the Diamond Casino sort of thing. I'm going to put this one in good, though, because this, at the time, was the best heist in the game. And when you think about it, we kind of got two relatively decent GTA Online stories in 1 year. Like, we had, in the middle of the year, the Diamond Casino, and then at the end of the year, we had the story with Lester in the Diamond Casino Heist. We also got some really good quality of life updates, like the Arcade Master Control Terminal made it so easy to manage all of your businesses. Like, grinders absolutely love this thing. Yeah, in my mind, I'm kind of combining these two, but I think the second part of it was a little bit better. This heist, like I said, was the best one at the time. Best way to make money in the game. Like, it completely crushed everything else. And if you play the heist with 2 or more people, it's still pretty much the best way to make money in the game. The Cayo Perico and Casino, if you're playing with 2 to 4 players, it's pretty similar. And this was really the first time that Rockstar let us choose how we wanted to play heists. Obviously, they took it that step further with Cayo Perico, but this was the first one. We got to choose 3 different approaches, and we could choose, a different approach for each approach, if that makes sense. Like with the big con, there were 4 different disguises you could use, so the heist had heaps of replayability, and it was definitely one of the best DLC updates we've had. The executives and other criminals one. This is tough. It's not one of the best in the game. I'm gonna put it in okay. It's got some good parts and some bad parts. The good parts was it introduced the VIP CEO sort of thing. So this was the DLC that let you do all of the VIP missions, basically. And it was sort of part 1 to the Import-Export DLC that came out in 2016. This one came out in 2015, Import-Export 2016, so it was sort of part 1 in that aspect. The reason I couldn't put it in really good, and it kind of makes me want to put it in not great, but I'm going to be generous and put it in okay, was the fact that it introduced the yachts, which, they were kind of a meme at the time. $6 to $10 million for something that's completely useless. It doesn't make too much sense, you know? On top of that, the vehicles, I'm not even going to list them off because you won't even know what they are if you're just new to the game. Like, they're not useful. Actually, I'm going to move it down to not great. I don't think... Well, at the time, it was good. Look, it's going to go somewhere in between. I'll leave it here, but it's in between those two, in my opinion. And then the final one we're going to go over... I probably should have ordered these chronologically, but, it is what it is. Import-Export. This one's got to go in good for me, actually. I think this is one of the better updates. These were the first active sort of businesses in GTA Online that didn't make you money in the background. And it sort of started GTA on that path of, businesses, grindy sort of stuff. No one really knew what the game was going to be, even with the heist update that came out in 2015. It was a cool update, but it wasn't going to add longevity to the game, if that makes sense. The businesses, they're both passive and active with bikers, and then import-export, passive and active. They catered to different types of players, basically, and gave you lots of different ways to play the game. So for that, it's got to go in good tier for me. As for the vehicles, nothing too amazing on this one. We got things like the ramp buggy and the phantom wedge, even the rocket Voltic, but nothing that really matters too much today anyway. But for the time, this was a really good update. So we'll wrap it up there. Let me know what your tier list would be. Actually, have you played GTA for, more than 5 years or something? Do you remember most of these DLCs? Because if you don't, I don't really know how you're going to rank them, but let me know if you agree with this list. You're probably not going to. This is just my opinion based on the way I play and what vehicles I use. But anyway, let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. Consider subscribing for more stuff like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!
Favorite color, money green. I've been on my grind since I was in the 7th grade.